Whether selling your home on your own or through your local realtor, please give us a call at 824-8007 for all your title work needs.
Your information station, WTIM.
And welcome into the WTIM morning show right here on WTIM, your information station. I'm Tim Zalabak, your host of the show. Thank you so much to our live stream sponsors, People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. On the phone lines, we have Dr. Kent Redfield, Professor Emeritus of Political Science at the University of Illinois, here to break down some various political topics here that are very relevant. Kent, Dr. Redfield, thanks so much for being here with us.
Oh, good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Our first show on a Monday, and it's good to get some things, some confusion wrapped up here, and we're gonna learn a few things today. So, starting off our conversation with a Supreme Court ruling or upholding a federal law prohibiting individuals under domestic violence restraining orders from possessing firearms. So, a lot to take in right there. It seems like a big change here. What's on your mind with this one, Doctor?
Well, this starts off with for a long time. The controversy it was not settled whether Second Amendment bestowed a collective right or an individual right. And in the Heller decision, which has been a number of years now, it was established that the Second Amendment was an individual right, that individuals had the right to possess and own guns. There was how much the state could do to regulate that was always an issue. The most recent kind of major decision is something called the Buren decision, and it took a New York law that said if you go through all of the requirements the state of New York puts on having a concealed weapon, concealed carry, then the local police or may grant you a permit. And the court struck that down, and instead the standard was they shall grant you a permit if you meet the standards, and standards cannot be overly restrictive. Then you can exercise your individual right to carry a concealed weapon outside of the home. And it relied heavily on a historical analysis. What was the way that people thought about, what were the customary practices about owning and using guns in 1788 when the Constitution was established. And so, that led to a appellate court striking down, a law that restricted people who had gone through a process of, there'd been gone before a judge had issued a restraining order against the person, usually a male, but it could be either one. Then that person could not possess a handgun. You had to surrender it, give it to a relative. It vary in terms of exactly how they worked with this, and the appellate court struck that down and said, no, that's violating the Second Amendment rights. Supreme Court, by an 8-1 decision, said, no, that law is constitutional. There's always been kind of a historical practices that said that you can, dangerous people shouldn't have weapons, and if you were a danger to society, and so they held that the granting of the protective order of protection was sufficient to meet that standard, since there was due process and there was you went before a judge. That just leaves an awful lot to be filled in about, that says nothing about assault weapon bans. There are a whole range of things, open carry. There are a lot of things out there that it's not clear exactly, because we're working from a case that really was about concealed carry and didn't get into these areas. So you had the court, it was 8-1, but you had about 6 separate opinions that said, yes, the law is unconstitutional and here's why. And then you had Justice Thomas, who wrote the original Buren decision, saying that there's nothing in history that shows that, any kind of restriction on guns involving domestic violence. Now, some of the critics said, well, back in 1788, particularly in terms of domestic situations, women really didn't have any more rights than, had very limited rights. They were almost property back then. And so, how can you take that situation and look for a historical kind of parallel in terms of this particular law? It just means it's going to be muddled, until they get very specific. Is Illinois' ban on possessing assault weapons constitutional or not? You really don't know on the basis of this decision.
So I was going to say, let's take the conversation that one step further with what does that mean for our state of Illinois and the recent banning of assault weapons. But you just said that it's going to be more of a wait and see type of situation.
Yeah, they've got a historical test that Justice Thomas would like to apply that really is, unless you can find some practice or regulation or state law or something dealing with the very specific things of, domestic violence, then, if that doesn't exist, then, you rule in favor of a right to own, possess a gun, even though they're obviously this law is prompted by the fact that we have an awful lot of domestic violence situations ending in assaults on the partner with the restraining order. And but the court was put in a very, if the outcome kind of fit what Justice Thomas was arguing strictly from applying the tests from the Buren decision, but the outcome struck most people as being kind of, unreasonable, because you don't want someone with a violent history that has a restraining order, having access to guns. It creates problems, and we've got a lot of order of protections. That statistics come from Cook County. We may have hundreds of orders of protections where it would be up to the state's attorney or the county sheriff specifically to go out and make sure those weapons had been had been taken out of the possession of the person under the restraining order. If you're going to send police officers out to confront someone who has a gun, trying to take that gun away from them, you've created a very difficult, potentially a very dangerous situation. And so, none of this is easy. And, but they will, until the court can settle on some doctrine that is more kind of standard, that they can get at least, 5 or 6 justices to apply on a consistent basis, then state legislatures are, they're going to be, operating in the dark, and you're going to get probably over restriction in Democratic, blue states, and under restrictions in the more Republican red states, which is, it's not a good situation. If you've got a standard everybody understands, then where the lines are, and that's what you want in the law. We certainly don't have that at the moment.
Sure. You just described the scenario where police officers going to confront an individual under one of these domestic violence restraining orders, and it does seem that restraining orders as a whole, and not as a whole, but I'd venture to say many of them are domestic. And now the following actions with one of these people under a restraining order is to give up their possessed firearms. Of course, they can't purchase, but will it be that easy to just turn over a firearm? What is the exact operation that is expected to take place once they're under this restraining order?
We assume there's some kind of there's a communication of the order again, we're talking domestic restraining orders on domestic violence. And, there's a communication, a request to surrender the weapon, but or to certify that you don't have a weapon. But then if the law enforcement has knowledge, or the person says, I've got a gun, but I'm not giving it up, then you create a situation where you're going to have to, if you're going to enforce the order, you have to go to the person's home. And again, we've seen in lots of situations where, police go, we have ambushes of, police going out and trying to enforce orders and stuff. So, there's just no good answer as to how the best way to do it. You try to follow a process. Hopefully, people do this rather than create a confrontation. And you would hope that the person under the restraining order, like their family, would say, surrender, let us keep the gun until this gets resolved, sort of thing. But, you're asking people in a high stress situation to act reasonably and rationally, and it doesn't always happen.
Sure, no direct answers as of yet, but it's all becoming just more clear with Dr. Ken Redfield, Professor Emeritus of Political Science from the University of Illinois. Time for us to take our time up. We'll have much more from Dr. Redfield. We come back. We're in the midst of our WTIM morning show on WTIM, your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
Hi, this is Jennifer Mathis with People's Bank and Trust, and I'm here to share information about our Save by Spending programs. Save by Spending Roundup, where we round up your debit card purchase to the next dollar and put that change in your savings account. Also, our Save by Spending Rewards program. You can earn cash back on all qualifying signature-based debit card purchases. Call 888-PBT-1954 and learn more about our Save by Spending programs. At People's Bank and Trust, we put you and your savings first. People's Bank and Trust, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Do you have a crack problem? Are you frustrated with grass? Are you tired of all the money you're spending on rocks? Is the road you're on a muddy mess? Hello, everybody. Cousin Bill here with Illinois Paving. We're here to help. This is a no judgment zone. Of course, we're talking about your driveway. Send your driveway to rehab with a team at Illinois Paving. Call us. We're here to help in your transformation. 788-7777.
As a pillar in the community, the CCYMCA has long been dedicated to fostering healthy living, youth development, and social responsibility. With our growth, the need for facility improvements becomes even more apparent. We are eager to make a lasting impact. We warmly invite you to help us make a difference and be a part of the journey through the 2023 through 2028 capital campaign. The YMCA has eclipsed the $1 million mark ahead of schedule. We encourage you to help the YMCA reach its goal of $1,465,000.
Taylorville Estates Assisted Living is where they encourage independence and enrich lives. Have your own apartment and enjoy 3 home-cooked meals a day. Socialize with friends and ride the bus to many local activities. Residents are treated like family. At Taylorville Estates Assisted Living, find out vacancies and get on the waiting list by contacting Administrator Tony Clark. You can stop by or call 824-2222. That's 824-2222. Taylorville Estates Assisted Living, encouraging independence, enriching lives.
If you can't afford a new driveway, whether it's concrete or asphalt, it's possible it could be repaired. Jim Stepp, owner of Central Illinois Asphalt in Taylorville, has innovative new products that can save you money. And if you're looking for something better than a rock driveway or parking lot, find out what Jim can offer. Let Jim use his over 40 years of experience to provide you free consulting. So what do you have to lose? Click the Central Illinois Asphalt icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com to get Jim's contact number and save yourself some money.
Realtors did it again. Owner Steve Craig's here with over $39 million sold from 245 transactions last year. We continue again as the market leader. Click on my icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Find out about all the products and services offered by Dan Rizzo, your American Family Insurance agent in Taylorville, by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM. WTIM.
Welcome back into the WTIM morning show right here on WTIM, your information station, in the midst of a great conversation with Dr. Kent Redfield, Professor Emeritus of Political Science from the University of Illinois. Thank you so much to our stream sponsors, People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. In that first half, we talked about a Supreme Court ruling for domestic violence restraining orders and people under not being able to possess firearms and all of the problems and the ways we will go about that in the future. Let's switch gears just a little bit here. Let's talk gas. Switching gears a lot. Let's talk gas prices, Dr. Redfield. I was having a conversation with my news director talking to me about a Missouri gas price coming in at about $1 lower than what we experience here. Now, break down how these prices come about and why they are just a little bit more expensive where we're at locally.
Yeah, and gas taxes, are the major reason for the differential is how much we tax the sale of gas in Illinois versus Missouri. Ideally, a gas tax is a use tax. You tax the people that are driving on the roads, wearing them out. You want to be able to fix those roads, and so you want to go after you want the tax to be paid by the people that are using the roads. So gas tax makes perfectly good sense in terms of it being a use tax. We, over time, that money goes into something called road fund in Illinois. Over time, we started diverting a lot of money out of the road fund for other purposes. Some of them even operating expenses when we had budget crisis, those sorts of things. And we had also applied a sales tax to the gas tax, which is the normal sales tax like groceries. And so you were paying a tax on gas that went into the road fund. You were also paying a tax on the purchase price of gas that was going into the general fund. We tried to fix that a couple of years ago by stopping the diversions, constitutional amendment to do that, and by reducing over time the diversion of, the application of a straight sales tax. The problem was we were in such a hole in terms of our fixing roads, bridges, and we are a state that has, we're a major transportation hub. Yeah. And we've got a lot of rural areas in Illinois, a very big state. And so, we're trying to whittle down that massive backload, of all of these, projects we've deferred. And it's, we're not done with this. Yeah. There are some automatic increases that are going to happen. The reason this happened was the big labor unions that build the roads, laborers, construction, operating engineers, and the business community, manufacturers, Chamber of Commerce, worked on making the road fund so there was a lockbox, and then agreeing to this, this tax increase phase in over time to try to get us out of the hole in terms of having money. So it is about state taxes, and unfortunately, it's about trying to atone for the sins of past generations more than as much as just kind of, well, the greedy politicians want our money. Well, we've got to figure out a way to keep bridges from falling down and roads, from, people disappearing in potholes and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it is like a lot of things, we're trying to do better in Illinois, but the short term, when you go to the gas pump is not pleasant.
Yeah, I mean, the way you described it right there and the way these taxes work together, I mean, it all makes sense. But the answer for a lot of these questions can be we're paying for, like you said, we're paying for the sins of our past right there. Dr. Redfield, we're just about out of time. This one flew by on us, but I really appreciate you coming in and talking to us today.
Oh, sure. always happy to talk.
Absolutely. That's Dr. Kent Redfield, Professor Emeritus of Political Science from the University of Illinois. Learned a whole lot with Kent, Dr. Kent Redfield. We also want to thank our sponsors before we go here, People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. You've been listening to the WTIM Morning Show.
Now, Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville, 96.1 W241 CF Taylorville, 107.5 W298 CD Shelbyville, 107.9 W300 EH Payne and Nokomis.
Severe weather in the form of sweltering heat or